On 28 April 2021, OMOCAT was interviewed by an Italian creator about OMORI, the future development of the brand, and many other topics, delivering precious information that very few people know about. But why? Hi, I'm Fede. Today's theme is very interesting. OMOCAT was interviewed for the first time after OMORI release by a private chat by a well-known Italian streamer called Cydonia. But despite the singularity of the event, very few today are witnesses of what happened. The whole stream and interview was made in Italian, so I will say that the obvious reasons are the lack of OMORI fans able to translate it and OMOCAT absence in it, as Cydonia read the whole interview by himself. Later, some users made their translations of it, but another reason could be that OMORI wasn't popular at all until it got the console port, so anything related to it has partially remained in the darkest caverns of the OMORI fandom. OMOCAT later had other chances to answer fan questions, like the 2 streams she made for Basil's birthday and the other one back in the last November. She remained vague on many questions, which instead are explored in her first interview hosted by Cydonia. The reason these 2 people met is quite funny, but before starting to explain how this creator managed to interview OMOCAT herself, I must introduce the sponsor of the video, Till It Ends, Stories and Extras. Now you may be wondering what that is, and that's because it's a relatively new company that has many cool branches underneath it. It all started with Till It Ends, a thrilling fantasy novel about kids with special powers facing off against each other in the tournament of the new world. On YouTube you can listen to Shudder's Starlight, an album full of songs inspired by the book and the different characters in it. Along with the music, there's also plenty of other entertaining content related to Till It Ends and writing on there. More into writing your own stories? Join Till It Ends Stories and Extras Discord server, fun space full of fellow writers where you can talk about story creation, get advice, and share your works around in a small and friendly community. They're looking for more members so they can start doing short writing contests with cash prizes. These are just a handful of the engaging free content that they offer, but there's more. For only $9.99 a month, you can get access to the Till It Ends Story and Extras workshop, an extension of their Discord server that offers weekly classes on everything story creation. With so many different options, it's almost impossible to decide what to check out first. A link to the book, website, YouTube channel, and Discord server will all be in the description of this video, and thank you to Till It Ends Stories and Extras for sponsoring this video. Back in topic, Blue Moon is one of the coders of the OMORI team and happens to be a huge fan of Cydonia. That's a lucky coincidence. Blue Moon also got the entire dev team to watch his live streams of OMORI, and OMOCAT even made an artwork based on him and his partner, Chiara. Always OMOCAT left a little heart in the chat while they were watching the end credits. After that, Cydonia asked Blue Moon for OMOCAT's permission to do an interview with her, and that's how it happened. After that, OMOCAT had very little interaction with other content creators, and if I'm not mistaken, most of them are just VTubers from Hololive. However, I noticed that after that interview, we never had such events again. I remember that OMOCAT had never revealed a voice nor expressed herself publicly before Cydonia's interview, so the event itself was pretty unique. Also, they are not trivial questions, but they're very intriguing and the answers given even more. So without further ado, let's start with the interview. Question 1. We know that OMORI was created in 2011 as OMORI Boy, a comic. Was it created with the intention to become the protagonist of a game, or did it happen randomly? To be honest, OMORI's creation was very impulsive, even in the blog. There was no planning for OMORI to become a blog, nor for it to become a game. At the time, I was going through personal problems and used that character and blog as a way to push away all my negative emotions that I had no other way to express. After a while, I started having this idea for a story I wanted to create around the character, and I didn't know what way I should have used to tell it. After some experiments, I realized OMORI's story should have been told through a game. I don't think Omori Boy's character and personality could ever be compared to Omori from the game. They are two separate things, two characters that had nothing to do one with the other, except for looking similar. Even so, I like to imagine people have different interpretations about this. Question 2. From what I've seen, Omori is full of references from Earthbound Mother series game. What's the main source of inspiration behind the game? Of course, you're right. Omori's references are pretty clear. Aside from Earthbound, there's plenty of games that inspired us, like Yumaneki, Pokemon, Ib, Dragon Quest, Ace Attorney, Animal Crossing, Zelda, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, Dark Cloud, and many others. We weren't only inspired from games in a way, but from other media too, like anime, Fullmetal Alchemist, Higurashi no Naku Koroni, Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei, manga like Yasumi Ponpon, 20th Century Boys, Kaio Matsumoto Works, Vocaloid Producers, and probably many others. Still, Omori's weirdness comes mainly from Mother, just like the idea of having doors in black space come from Yumaneki, while the tag system comes from Dark Cloud. There's plenty of other references though, like Pokemon, which we used as a scheme to balance the battle system, and Paper Mario for the equipment system. There's a Sploudmo named Rosa after a specific character from Zelda Oracle of Season, and a Metal Gear Solid 3 reference. Question 3. Why have you decided to create a game about depression and anxiety? Did you consult psychologists when creating the game? Actually, the main intention of the game wasn't talking about anxiety and depression. Of course, thanks to the plot, we had to talk about these themes. A lot of the team members, myself included, struggled with depression, so I tried to insert more and more serious part in the game during the development. A lot of themes throughout the game reflect personal experience and emotions, therefore we haven't asked anything to any therapist. Question 4. Does Basil have his own white space and black space? The idea of the white space is based on the ability of some people to completely isolate themselves when a traumatic event happens. They isolate their minds and travel through the white space to fade their memories. From my personal experience, not everyone is able to do it. If Basil would have had his own white space, it would have been full of unpleasant images, and unlike Sunny's, it wouldn't be static, but really dynamic with a lot of fast changes, extremely frenetic. Therefore, I don't think Basil will be able to escape his own mind like Sunny does, and that's why his problem manifests in the real world. After all, something exists because of Basil's idea that it exists in the first place. This answer is potentially the most interesting one, as it's full of unexplained lore. I leave it up to you to interpret OMOCAT's words, and I suggest you to leave a comment with your thoughts about it. Question 5. How many people worked on the game? Let's start by saying that at the beginning of everything, it was just me and Archaea. I hired Slime Girls and Clover and Sea Life, at the time known as Spice Boyfriend. Anyway, Omori began to get bigger and more people were necessary, but at the time, we had a lot of difficulties which led to some members leaving the development. At the end, our team was made of 8 developers and 7 game testers. She also talked privately with Cydonia about how Blue Moon Coder was one of the people who helped the most and saved the project. Question 6. Is there any cat content? The biggest feature we had to cut was the possibility of giving Omori pigtails. We would have loved to have it in the final product. It would have taken too much time to redraw the majority of the drawings that are in the game. This feature is still active and a little part of the game. Another thing we didn't have was the possibility of changing the uniform for Sunny's job in Faraway Town. At the time, the only uniform Sunny could wear was the one for the pizza minigame. Though the sprite sheets are in the game files, they weren't implemented. We also wanted to add more side quests, but we are still fine with the final product. Question 7. Will the game ever release on Switch? This question didn't age well. We're working with players to bring the game to other consoles too, such as Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. We don't really have a date for when the release is going to happen, but we're working with players to translate the game into Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Question 8. Do you plan on expanding Omori with other media such as anime, mangas, for side stories? There are many ideas, but none of them are real yet. I don't think there will ever be a sequel as another game. I think OMORI hands in the way it should go, but the team always like to joke about some eventual spin-off like OMORI Dancing All Night or OMORIO KART. Anyway, there are a lot of different media, but I think OMORI will only work as a game or an animation. We'll see eventually. I know it's been 2 years since the interview, but we still don't have anything but merchandise and little comics. But imagine an anime about OMORI. Never mind, OMORIO KART! OMOCAT, I'm still waiting for that. Jokes apart, that's the end of the interview. I hope I've made you discover something new about OMORI. It was a shame that all this succulent information had been ignored so much, so I thought of making a video about it. Now you have a lot of things you can discuss, so I'm expecting a lot of comments below. Thanks again till it ends, Story and Extras for the sponsorship. I left all the useful links in the description. Thanks for watching till the end, and bye. Thank you.